Example 6 in Stat 101 Examples Class 3, what type of sampling? To recap, the types of sampling covered in lectures: random sampling, where each member of the population has an equal chance of being selected; systematic sampling, selecting some starting point and then selecting every kth item, element in the population, for example every 50th or every 100th. Stratified sampling, subdividing the population into at least 2 different subgroups or strata, so that subjects within the same subgroup share the same characteristics, and then draw a sample from each subgroup. And cluster sampling, dividing the population into sections or clusters, then randomly selecting some of those clusters, then choosing all members from the selected clusters. This is page 29 from Triola for further information. Page 29 in Triola textbook to refer for further examples. In our question, what type of sampling? In number 1, in a large school, all teachers from 2 buildings are interviewed to determine whether they believe the students have less homework to do now than in previous years. All teachers from 2 buildings leads us to the conclusion it's cluster sampling. We're selecting the buildings randomly and then we're interviewing all teachers from those 2 buildings. Number 2, every 7th customer entering a shopping mall is asked to select his or her favourite store. Every 7th customer, it's systematic sampling. Every 7th customer, number 7 or number 14, number 21, it's in a systematic order. Number 3, teaching staff at university are selected using random numbers in order to determine annual salaries. Using random numbers leads us to believe it's random sampling, using random numbers to decide which teaching staff to interview. Number 4, every 100th beef burger manufactured is checked to determine its fat content. Every 100th beef burger, very similar to example 2, this is another case of systematic sampling. Every 100th beef burger. Systematic sampling for number 4. Number 5, postmen in Christchurch are divided into 4 groups according to gender and whether they walk or cycle on their routes. Then 10 are selected from each group and interviewed to determine whether they've been bitten by a dog in the last year. Dividing into 4 groups or strata according to gender and whether they walk or cycle, and then randomly selecting from each group. This is an example of stratified sampling. Dividing into strata and randomly selecting from each group. An example of stratified sampling for number 5. And this is the end of example 6.